Welcome to the Ogles channel. Thanks for watching today. And let's continue our journey to finish every single Game Boy Color game. And today we're going to focus on a game called Milon's Secret Castle. And when they say secret, they mean secret. Because like everything is hidden inside this game. Whether it's going to be upgrades or money or shops or exits, like everything is hidden and cryptic inside of this game. And it's a fairly tough game to finish, but the name of the series is finishing every Game Boy Color game, and Milon is of no exception. Now this game did get moved up in the queue a little bit because one of our followers, Abba Luciella, if I'm saying your name correctly, feel free to correct me down below if I'm saying it incorrectly, mentioned in one of the earlier videos how Milon was one of the most difficult games to actually finish, and so naturally it got moved up in the queue sooner than later here. But let's go ahead and get started with our journey of Milon's Secret Castle. Now I always like to start the videos off by looking at the box art for the game, and the box art for Milon's Secret Castle is legit a pretty awesome looking cover here. Looks like it's something straight out of an 80s fantasy novel, because you got Milon off to the side looking like a mischievous little elf, throwing these bubbles at this massive gargoyle. You got a flying little fish down at the bottom left hand corner. The entire atmosphere is this little mystical river almost like flowing behind them. The clouds, I mean everything about this just screams 80s fantasy novel, and the idea that this was created in the 90s, I mean, that's pretty odd to me. I guess they're harkening back to an older style, but great looking cover. This is actually a port of an NES game, and the NES game got a way lamer cover. It was just like a picture of a castle with like some lightning behind it. This cover here, it represents the game a little bit better as far as like, you know, what actually happens inside the game, but it's making it look way more hardcore than what it's actually going to be. Because Milon's looking pretty intimidating there, but truth be told in the game, he looks more like a Ebenezer Scrooge who's getting ready to go to bed for the night. Got his little nightcap on and his little gown and things like that. And so the cover does represent like the gameplay of the game, the main creatures, the main character, but it is going to make it look a little more action oriented, a little more, I don't know, a little bit darker, more fantasy than what it actually is. But let's go ahead and dive into the actual game of Milon's Secret Castle. Now when you start the game up here, you got a pretty standard little title screen. You got a little castle in the background. It says the title of the game up top. The music behind the title screen is not great, it's not horrible, and it's going to get more repetitive as the game goes. Truth be told, I played most of this game with the sound off just because I got so tired of the soundtrack as I went. But if you wait a little while, the title screen does scroll down and you actually get the story for the game. And you have the little princess outside of her castle, the little demon comes down, kidnaps the princess and takes her away. And then you show up in your little nightgown looking here, and you're going to try to rescue the princess from this evil demon. Now, this is a very basic story inside the game that's portrayed here, but if you look in the game's manual, like the story is way more complex and it gives a lot more background on it. I can't necessarily say it's like a great story, but let's go ahead and go through it. Now, Milon is born into the Kingdom of Hudson, which is convenient since the game is made by Hudson Soft. Now, Milon in his Kingdom of Hudson does not have the ability to communicate with anyone else inside the kingdom because they all communicate through music, and Milon is talentless in the music department. And so he's actually going to pack his bags up and leave the Kingdom of Hudson and go find another kingdom that he can live in, that he can communicate and talk like a normal person. Before he goes to leave, he actually goes to visit the princess or the queen here. And when he goes to visit her, she's abducted by this little alien, or this, I'm sorry, not alien, this little dragon or this monster is carried away. And Milon takes upon himself to try to now rescue the queen. And he visits a local wizard, and the wizard gives him the ability to shoot out bubbles as a weapon. Now, there's a lot of questions in this story. First off, like, why would he give him the ability of a bubble as a weapon? There are so many different abilities you could basically have inside of a game, or inside of a fantasy world or a story to rescue the princess. Why bubbles? That just doesn't make any sense. And the second part here is, why is Milon trying to help out this kingdom that has basically shunned him and outcast him enough for him to actually want to leave the kingdom altogether? And so, but regardless, Milon's, I guess, you know, just a helpful citizen in general, wants to rescue the princess, and he's now equipped with this bubble ability to fight through the castle and all the demons' little minions to rescue the queen here. Now, after the intro, you finally get to play the game, and you're going to notice immediately, like, the controls are not necessarily great inside the game. First off, when you shoot your bubble out, you can only go at an angle up or an angle down. You can't shoot the bubble straight in front of you, which I find a little bit annoying. Also, like when you're walking on the screen here, it pushes you really far to the right of the screen for the screen to advance, and that really takes away from your reaction time, you know, like when taking out enemies and just seeing what's on the rest of the screen. And I've always hated games that really push you on the far right side of the screen as you're advancing. I like games that are more in the center or on the left, and the vast majority of games are like that. I've always found it a nuisance when games are so forced on the right hand side. I just never have liked that. And also, like when Milon actually jumps, when he comes back down, there's actually a pretty big slowdown. I'm not sure why the game has such a slowdown on your falling. but you have very much of a slowdown on your coming down from every jump that you take. It actually helps out as far as like some of the platforming inside the game, but it is a really weird thing that the game could not handle Milon jumping. But obviously you go into the first room inside the castle, and you're going to notice there's a pretty funky selection of enemies. You got the flying fish from the cover of the game. You have these little slime creatures. You have these little slime creatures on little springs. And you're going to notice like all throughout the game, the enemies are just wacky assortment. They don't match up in any form or fashion. It's really just like they tried to think of any sort of monster that they could, and they sort of crammed it into this game. And we'll take a look at a lot of individual monsters as we go. But in the first level, they are demonstrating that the monsters are, they're just sort of a funky crew. But as you're journeying through the first level, you're going to be trying to shoot the enemies, and when you shoot the enemies, obviously sometimes you're going to miss and you hit the wall, and sometimes the walls actually sort of blow up and you have like little hidden passages behind the walls, or hidden like, you know, dollar bills behind the walls, or honeycombs behind the walls, or bees behind the walls, and all of these are different power-ups that you can get. The little money symbols are money that you collect, and you can use that to purchase items and upgrades from the shop. The honeycombs allow you to refill your life all the way to the top, and the bee is going to be like a little bit of a shield. Now you're also going to notice as you're journeying through the level, you're going to find like little doors you need to go through, and you're going to have keys to go through those doors. And oftentimes the keys are like hidden throughout the level, like you might have to blow up a wall in order to find the key, or you might have to just simply hit a random blank spot on the level in order to expose the door that you need to go through. And also as you're journeying through it, and, you know, finding all these little secret passageways and secret, you know, things behind the walls. Also, like sometimes if you hit a random block and you don't know which block, they're not designated in any form or fashion, a little music note will pop out on top of it. And if you hop on the music note, it takes you to a weird little like fantasy land, almost like from Shrek, it looks like to me. And I understand it's a fantasy game, and, you know, Shrek's just a fantasy movie, to make the connection. But I couldn't help but notice as I'm collecting the music notes and the sharps and avoiding the flats, and you have the little crowd in the background, it just reminded me of the villagers from the first Shrek movie at the very beginning of the movie when he goes to visit the kingdom of Lord Farquaad. And there's this little musical box or this little musical demonstration that comes out and sort of greets Shrek a little bit. Some reason that reminds me almost identical of this particular scene in the game. I don't know, it could just be a memory that sparks to me at least, but I find some similarities in it. But you are collecting music notes here, collecting the sharps, avoiding the flats, because the flats take away points. And the more music notes you collect, the more money you're going to get. And so you're going to want to go through every one of these little mini games that you find throughout the game, because money is a hot commodity inside this game. And you can't just simply go back into the levels again after you complete them to get more money. You can only collect all the money one time. And so you have to really watch what you spend it on, and be pretty careful. I know there's like, I think 8 or 10 upgrades you can get inside the game, and I only got like 4 of the 8 throughout the entire experience, and mostly because I couldn't find the secrets to get to the other shops. But in some cases there were, you know, 1 or 2 instances where I just simply didn't have enough money to buy everything that I needed. And so even if I had found all the shops, I just never had enough money to spare to buy everything that I needed. But back on the main screen here, if you do press select, you can actually see all the items that you've collected so far, how many crystals you've collected, and you get a crystal every time you kill a major bad guy or boss inside the game. And so you can pause at any time and take a look at what you have as far as inventory goes. And basically, eventually, you find the key. You finally get to the little hidden door in the upper right-hand corner. You go out that door, and you're back out in front of the castle again. And so you simply travel along the castle wall a little bit further, and you go through the next door. And in the next door, you go through another little mini level. And this little level is, once again, the mission is simply to collect some money, find the key, find the exit, and basically find all the little hidden treasures and whatnot inside the level. And as you're going through it, you're basically just going to start blowing up everything inside the level, because you don't know what's a hidden block, which one is not a hidden block. And so your best bet is just simply to destroy everything, and that way no secret is left untouched as you go. And there might be a way to, like, you know, tell like what's a secret, what's not. I couldn't figure it out, so I just sort of went to a scorched earth policy here, and I just blew up the entire world or entire room as I was going to find everything that I possibly could. When I think that I finished that room off, I go back out the castle, I go into the final room on the first floor of the castle, I go into this room, and it's actually a little bit of a shop. And the shop actually gives you 2 hints. The first hint was that the crystals have power, I think is what it said. And the second one said to find the saw. And the third one actually had like a little opportunity to buy a potion. And for $4, you buy the potion, and that allows you to shrink down anytime you hit a glove inside the level. And you can become like mini Milon. And they really should have capitalized on the idea of mini Milon. It just sort of rolls off the tongue. Mini Milon. Mini Milon. See, just say it to yourself right now. Mini Milon. I mean, it's a great little term there. But regardless, you've become Mini Milon inside some of these levels, and you can access some of the areas that you couldn't have previously. So now the opportunity is to go back into the first 2 levels again and search for a glove to shrink down to find any areas that you might have missed. And so the game does have some back tracing in it, or backtracking, but it's not too heavy on that. For the most part, you can find the shops of the things that you need before you go into the level. But, you know, I go back into the levels I went through. I end up buying some spring shoes from a shop that I didn't see the first time around. I also end up finding a little opportunity to shrink down inside the next level in order to collect some more money. And I finally go back out of the castle, sort of like wondering where to go. And I figure out that now that you've, I guess, shrunk down or have the ability to, you can actually go through the window of the castle. Now, when you go into the window of the castle, you get to fight the first boss inside the game. And it's going to be a giant dragon. Now, I don't know if you have to go through necessarily the first 2 levels to go through the window. I'm not sure if my power-ups allowed me to go through the window. But regardless, I go through this window and there's this giant dragon in there shooting out these fireballs. And since I had like pretty much full health here, had like a little shield around me, I was like, you know, I'm feeling pretty confident here. And I just got in there. I just sort of blasted away at the dragon. Didn't worry about like how many times I was taking a hit. And the dragon, you know, fell down pretty quickly and was destroyed. And the sprites for the dragon and the sprites for all the bosses are pretty top notch. And good looking dragon, good looking boss. And once you defeat the boss, you actually get a little crystal. And you have to collect all the crystals in order to access the final room inside the castle in order to rescue the princess or the queen. And so now we have our first of all of our crystals here. I think there's 7, might be 8 total. I'd have to look at the screen. I'm in the middle of filming the video at the moment. But there's 7 or 8 crystals you have to collect. And so we got our first of all of our crystals. We go out of the room and now we're on the 2nd floor of the castle. And so I'm sort of finally getting the, I guess the feel of the game here. You basically just go through all the rooms of the castle. You search throughout the entire room, search for money, search for power-ups, search for shops, buy power-ups in the shops, which allows you to access more rooms or more windows inside the castle. And then just simply by trial and error going through all of them, you'll find all the secrets, you'll find the boss, defeat the boss, get a crystal, and then of course repeat the entire process again as you build your way up the castle. And so once I understood like how the game plays, it's not that bad as far as like just simply searching the entire areas for every secret possible. But if you don't like searching for secrets, this is not the game for you, because you are going to have to search literally every level, top to bottom, for everything that you can find inside of these levels. And so I'm on the 2nd floor now, and I figure my best bet would be just simply to start on the far left side and work my way from the left-hand windows and left-hand doors all the way to the right side. So going to the first room here is going to be more of the same as far as like, you know, fighting through all the enemies. There's a lot of little trap doors inside this level, which do get a little bit on the frustrating side. You finally get to use your spring shoes in order to bounce up to higher platforms inside this particular level. And eventually I do end up finding a shop inside this level. I buy a lantern, which is going to come in handy when I finally, you know, go into like the cave areas or the well. And they have 2 hints inside of this little shop, and it says the well is climbable, which gives us an idea of like where we really need to go next for like our major mission. And it also gives me a hint that says the balloon makes bigger bubbles, which is sort of vague, sort of cryptic to a degree, but we're also going to utilize that inside the well at the same time. So like the game is cryptic, but it also gives you these hints throughout the entire experience, which make it a little less cryptic. So if you actually read all the hints inside the game, I don't think it's as bad, but you have to depend on yourself finding all the secret rooms to get these hints. And if you miss any of the secret rooms, it can become cryptic to a, I won't say unplayable degree, but a very difficult degree. But I leave this room, I go into the next room in the castle. Inside this one, it looks like I've stepped inside the Keebler elf tree here. Got all the little wood around me. Some new enemies inside this as well. You do end up finding a shop inside the level that actually gives you free money, which is unusual for a shop. It also gives you an opportunity to buy a higher power. And I never really understood like what power does in the game. If it's going to be extra health, is it more defense? Is it more attack ability of your bubbles? I never really could figure out what power actually meant. And then we have our final hint inside this little area here. And it says push 2nd on the fireplace, which I didn't really understand at first, but later on, as I backtrack through some of the levels, I understand there's an actual fireplace. It's like a little hole in the wall. And if you push the 2nd block, it's going to open up a new little area to go through. And I didn't realize that at first, but it seems so obvious now that I'm reading the hint a 2nd time around. But as I was going through the game, I didn't really pick up on this hint as much. It's also in this level, you have Hudson spelt out at the bottom of the level, because this is the kingdom of Hudson that you're in, and also the developer of the game is Hudson Soft, so it's like a little, you know, a little Easter egg they're putting inside the game there. And like I said in the Mario Land video, I enjoy when games do little things like this. Like the Mario Land spelt out Mario, Hudson spells out Hudson. I don't know, it's It's lame to some people, but it's something that I do enjoy in the games. And so I do leave this particular area of the castle, or this particular room. None of the other rooms are able to be opened up, so I journey over to the well, which is where it told me to go. I jump into the well, and I fall down into the well. Now, I'm assuming that if I fell down into the well earlier in the game, it would not be lit up because I didn't have the lantern. But since I have the lantern, I can see inside the well. Now, as I'm journeying through the well, we do have some new enemies down here. We do have like a little hothead enemy. Looks like it's from Super Mario Brothers 2 to some degree. We have this little cubone looking creature here. I'm sure it's just some sort of evil demon, but you know, I've got to make my associations as I go. And then the third enemy, like holy cow, I didn't know this enemy existed in any other game except for the first Turtles game. It didn't make any sense. But we have the little eyeball plant. You know, the little eyeball, the little plant legs. This is almost identical to the enemy inside the TMNT game. I know there's probably no connection at all, but I like to think that there might be some sort of universe out there that connects Milon's secret castle to the first TMNT game, and possibly it's all canon out there. It's at least the connection that I'm going to make, and so finally we had the little eyeball plant monster back again. But as you're journeying through the well here, you finally can get to the final boss, and I've never seen a boss like this inside of a game here. This is like a giant dust ball or a dust bunny, just like a conglomeration of what looks like a little dirt cloud with a little face on it. And not too bad of a boss as I'm going through it, but it's just a entertaining looking creature that they've created here. It does seem like something that would appear like in an 80s cartoon. It's probably maybe like a smokestack or a little pillar of smoke, and just put a little expression on it to make a bad guy out of it. I don't know. I like the way this enemy looks. I'm actually a pretty big fan of this enemy, but it's a great boss. And once you beat him, you do get a hammer. And the hint to go along with the hammer says, use this on the front wall. But then it seems like you're stuck inside the well. You can kill all these enemies. You don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. And finally, after wandering around the well for a while, I end up killing one enemy, and I noticed a little balloon came out of it. And if you touch the balloon, you get transported back to the top of the world or back in front of the castle again. Because one of your hints earlier said that use a balloon for a bigger bubble, or a bubble for an escape, or something like that. And so you actually get inside the balloon and you float back up to the surface. Now, this goes back to show that if you read the hints in the game, it opens up a lot of avenue in like knowing what to do. But, you know, you have to figure out what those hints mean as well. But I do like that the hints actually do mean something, and they're not as cryptic as some of the games of this time period. But regardless, here I am stuck out in front of the castle, no idea where to go. I wander inside the rooms again, don't discover any new secrets, can't figure out anything what to do. And I hate to admit it, but I did have to look up a guide to figure out where to go next, because I was 100% stumped. And all you had to do was hop on this little platform here, press the up button, and you would of course use your hammer to break through the wall. Because I mean, I got the hammer and it said use on the front wall. The hint was there, the hammer was there, all the clues were there. But and maybe if I'd wandered around for another hour or two, I might have figured it out. But this is part of the game where the secret and cryptic they blend in a little bit pretty closely here. But regardless, now that I'm in this room, I'm able to buy a saw, and you get the saw, which says you can basically get through windows now. And so I go into the next area. I'm able to actually go through some of the windows I couldn't go into before. And I go into one little window here, and I approach the next boss to get the third crystal inside the game. And this boss is going to be more like a griffin or a giant eagle that you're fighting against. And I was having a little bit of a tough time with the eagle here until I figured out if I just simply get behind the eagle, I can just simply stand back there, get enough shots in. She's not going to hit me enough times because she's bouncing forward. She never turns around to shoot anything at you. And I'm able to take the eagle out pretty easily by just simply standing behind her. And this is the way I like to play some of these retro games. I like to figure out like the best spot to be in order to not get hit, or in order to take the boss out easier. And we're going to get to some of the other bosses later where we figure out a similar mechanic. But for this particular boss, stand behind her, just blast away, and you'll have her defeated in no time. But I'm now on the third floor of the castle. I'm going to take my same pattern here, just simply go left to right, go through all the rooms, blow everything up to get as much money as I can, find the shops that I can. I do end up finding a new jumping ability, which is like spring shoes, or like spring shoes part 2, I guess, which allows you to always jump like super high in the levels. And this can come into play super handy as I go. I do see like a little elixir. I didn't actually purchase the elixir because I was running out of money. And I don't think I discovered all the shops in these levels because a lot of my inventory is blank. And so there might have been a weapon upgrade, and I think there probably was a weapon upgrade that I missed because later on in the game, it seems like some of the enemies take a heck of a lot of shots to actually kill them. But as I'm journeying through all these little areas, I end up finding, more weird looking enemies, like this little fellow with these little eyeballs above his head, a little toy looking crow, some pretty cool looking enemies as you go. Like I said, it's just it's a funky little bunch that we have here. But as I'm going through all of this, I go through all those little levels, and I don't really know where to go next, and I see these little towers on the side of the castle, and I journey to the far upper right-hand side of that, and I can actually bust through the wall with my little, little hammer I have here. And I guess it's sort of obvious now, like, where to go with the hammers, because there's like a platform there, so it's natural to want to try out the hammer there. And I go into this little area, and it's like a new area for the game. It's got these little melty platforms. If you stand on too long, you sort of fall through them, and you journey all the way down to the bottom of the tower, and you get to fight another eagle. Now, this eagle is significantly harder than the last eagle, which makes me think that there probably was a weapon power-up I was supposed to get that I've missed at this point. But regardless, I've figured out like the best strategy for this particular eagle, and I realized that if you just simply stand like where you are when you come into the level, only like one of the eagle's shots will actually reach over far enough to hit you, and you can just simply jump over that one shot. And as the eagle journeys over toward you, you just simply, throw out your little bubble weapon there, and you can hit him, 2 or 3 times every time he comes to the front. You just jump up and avoid his one shot, and very, very easy boss. And I'm going to use this strategy on a lot of bosses from here on out. But if you just simply stand at one spot and just sort of bait out the one move, almost all these bosses are rendered completely trivial. But this one does take a heck of a lot of shots to take out. I do get another crystal when I kill the boss. I do get a canteen that says you can put fire out with water. And I don't know if I actually use that in the entire rest of the game. But it is an item that I acquire after beating the giant eagle here, and I'm transported back outside the castle yet again. And at this point, I think I've gone through every room inside the castle. I don't really know where to go, so it's time to just simply backtrack through all the rooms that I've gone through already. And I end up going back to the room with the little toy crows in it, with the hot head, and I go down to the bottom right. There's that little fireplace looking thing that the hint from way earlier in the game is applying to. I get on top of the fireplace, I push the second block over, just like the hint said. I fall down through the little ceiling there above the fireplace, go into the fireplace, and we approach our second major dragon in the game. And this dragon is, once again, significantly harder than the first one, but all I did was my same strategy. I just stood where I came into the level, waited for him to come over to my little edge, fire a few shots out, jump above his little shot he fires out, and after several hits, take the dragon out. And so now we get another crystal. And we're also transported into a new territory, or a new type of world. And it's got a new background. It's got these little skulls that fly around with little wings on them. And I don't really know where to go, and then end up falling down this little trap door. And I fall down the trap door, and I just simply journey my way from right to left, and I end up leaving the little territory here. And so I did see a little image of the princess as I was leaving, and I thought I don't have any idea how to get to her. But regardless, there she was. And so I ended up leaving that room, and all I got out of that was a crystal initially. But then I realized I never went through the second tower of the castle, so I go back up to the 3rd floor, all the way up to the left, journey my way into the final tower, the minaret over here, drop all the way down through the bottom, killing everybody as I go, and finally get to the boss of this particular area. And it's like it's the Dust Bunny, or the Dust Ball's brother or whatnot. Got a little more spininess to him, it looks like. But, pretty cool looking little enemy. I actually like those enemies quite a bit. And you just simply take my same strategy again. Stand where you are when you walk into the level. Shoot him as he comes over to the edge. Dodge his one little shot that can actually hit you by just jumping over it. And you'll have him defeated once again in no time. And you get your crystal from him, and you'll have one crystal to go. And after you beat him, you're transported yet again to that same little world you were transported earlier with the little flying skulls, little wings on them. And then this time I actually tried to sort of jump around the world a little bit, and I actually found one of the princesses inside that area. And when I found the princess, she transforms into like one of those little demon ghosts or whatnot. You kill the demon ghost, and I got a crown from that. And it made me realize, like, hang on, if I got a crown from this one, I bet I was supposed to find a princess on the other one when I actually got transported to this world earlier. And I just simply fell through the trap doors. So I backtrack over to that area, go through that again, find the same little, little background here with the, skulls with the little wings on it. Jump over a few areas, found another princess. She transforms also to a little ghost or a little demon. Kill that demon, I get a scepter. So now I have the crown, and I have the scepter, and I don't know what it means, but I do have these 2 particular items that I didn't have earlier in the game. And so now I'm just trying to figure out like, what is my last place I'm supposed to go? And so I'm looking around all the little different windows, all the different little doors, and I find this one up here at the very top that I realized that was locked earlier. And now I guess since I have the crown and the scepter, I'm finally able to go through this area. And I go into it and it's another giant dragon, but this time it's like a bone dragon or a skeleton here. And really cool looking. Like I said, all the bosses are really cool looking sprites, but it's rendered trivial because I just stand in my same little spot here, do my same strategy as I did with all the other ones, and the bone dragon is taken out in no time. And once you go through that, you know, you're transported to the very tip top of the castle, and there's only one more room to go through. And so you go into the final room here, and this is where I come across absolutely hating this game. And it's weird to go from a game that I was, you know, sort of annoyed about, sort of indifferent about, you know, sort of back and forth on, to go to a game that I truly, truly hate. But this room did it for me. Inside this room here, you have to go through, and there are 4 witches that you have to find and take out. And as you're going through it, you have to work your way all the way to the top, find a witch, and she's not too hard to avoid the attacks of. However, I guess I never upgraded my weapon where I was supposed to, but as I'm fighting these witches, it takes, I'm not kidding, almost an hour to take out the 4 witches. And so you simply see them and you settle in for a 15-minute battle against these witches here. And they're not that hard to like dodge, avoid their attacks, jump up there, get your attacks in. But my hand was actually hurting inside this game by the time I killed all 4 of these witches. And it's so repetitive, it's so mind-numbing as you're up there taking them out. And once you figure out the strategy, like, it's not too hard to, you know, continue fighting against them. But holy cow, is it annoying to take out the 4 witches. When you finally take out all 4 of the witches up here, you finally get the little end cutscene. The princess or the queen appears, and then got a pretty good looking little animated scene actually. Almost looks like something out of like Legend of Zelda, or like the Oracle Ages or Link's Awakening. They had really good little cutscenes like this. And you've saved the queen, and you know, she praises you for saving the kingdom. And the credits begin to roll. And I hated the ending of this game. Yeah, it's a fine cutscene, fine little credits, whatever. I didn't care at this point. The part where you had to kill these witches, I have never been so annoyed in this Game Boy challenge as I have been in this particular area. All the crypticness of this game, or all the little secrets, most of those you could figure out. You know, you wander around enough. I'll admit I had to look online for the one wall and whatnot I had to destroy. But most of the stuff, they gave you hints inside the game of what to do to figure out. And perhaps there was a weapon upgrade that I missed inside the game. And perhaps there were some hints about the witches, about how to defeat them easier. I don't know. But the idea, they put me in a scenario at the end of the game that took 15 minutes per witch and an hour total, is just infuriating. And I absolutely hated that part of the game. Overall, I hope to never go back and play Milon Secret Castle. I know there's the NES version, and I've never played that one, and I can't see myself ever wanting to play it. I don't think this whole game is bad. I think there are positive aspects to the game. The hint system was pretty good. The buying system was pretty good. The enemies, or as far like the bosses, those were pretty darn good. I liked it, you know, that a whole lot. But the music in the game was horrible. The having to destroy every single level, searching for every little secret inside the level. And even when I felt like I destroyed every level, there were still secrets that I missed because I only had half the inventory when the game was over. The idea that money doesn't replenish, so you can't like really buy everything that you want inside the game. I don't really think the difficulty is super hard as long as you sort of, I guess, cheese the bosses like I did. But if you didn't cheese the bosses, like, holy cow, like, this game could be pretty hard in that aspect as well. So overall, this is a game that had some pretty good pluses, but it also had some very massive negatives. And especially ending the game on such a negative taste, it makes me not want to go back and play this game again. Am I sad that I played it? Probably not, because, you know, it's an interesting little experience to go through it. But I wish anyone well who wants to go on Milon's Secret Castle journey. But if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If there's a game you want to see sooner than later, let me know the name of that game in the comments down below. As always, go out there, find a great game to play. Just simply have a great rest of the day.